Okay guys, we're getting close to the start of the season. How very exciting. And a question a lot of you ask when you see the monster trucks is, what are they like to drive? So here we have the seat. As you can see, very little padding, tight wraparound bucket seats, 5-point harness, as you'd expect, keepers in place. We actually have two sets of steering because we steer the front wheels with the steering wheel, and we steer the rear wheels with this switch. You can see. Meow. So your brain has to then work out which way, as you're driving, to turn the rears one way or another independently. Now this is an old school monster truck, so this has no self-center. So we have no way of knowing when those wheels are straight, which is very important when we're driving towards a set of cars. You want to make sure you're straight. So here we are, into the workings of the truck. We have a big on button, we have a keyhole and a start button. I don't know where the key is, so I can't start it up for you. And then we have a gear stick. Nice and simple. So that goes park, reverse, neutral, drive, 1, 2. So this is a fully automatic, which is simple to a certain extent because we just move that down into drive and we leave it there, and it goes through the gears. So we can control the steering with this hand for the fronts and the steering with this hand for the rears. So it's hard to do it with holding the hands, but you imagine we're sort of driving with two hands stuck out. Now, because this is truly old school, we have two levers. So we get to decide whether we're going to be in, if it stops focusing, in low box or high box, which is this lever, and in high or in two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, which is this lever. Okay, now both of these gear levers have to be pulled in completely different ways. It's not as simple as just going clunk and clunk, because as you see, we have to move one in neutral. So when the engine is completely stopped, grab hold of that lever, you go clunk, and then we're into low drive. And then whilst it's in drive, we've got to slow the truck down. We've got to actually watch the prop shaft through the hole and then catch it in the right spot, clunk. Otherwise it's out of gear in the transfer box. And then once we're in four-wheel drive low, that's when we do the crushing. In two-wheel drive and high is when we'll do the majority of the driving. So quite complicated in this one. As well as having no suspension, it's like being in a car crash. The view, as you can see, as I try and close the door, despite being up in the air, is quite minimal. So that's why we have the groundsman. Also the bonnet, being a bonneted shaped truck and we're set on the left, gives a very misleading idea as to what is straight. So we have that's why if you ever see our shows, we have a groundsman, roughly where that post will be. He tells us when we're in this truck if we are going straight. Because if we're out and crabbing, because we don't have a self-center on the steering, we could hit the cars at an angle and come off. And with it being such a top heavy, we could end up on our roof. And this ain't no monster jam truck, so if this goes on its roof, that's probably going to be it for the truck. So yeah, that is what it's like to drive a monster truck. Oh, doggy. That's our Chevy. Team dog, catching rats. Peace. How to drive a monster truck, part 2. So we're in Grim Reaper now, which is completely different from Big Pete. But the principles are the same, but here I am, we're sat directly in the centre rather than to the left, as this is, as you can see, purpose-built tube. We've got a go pedal and a stop pedal, and you use both feet like that. Steering wheel to steer the front wheels, and we have the rear steer here, which steers right and left. But this has a self center, so if we can show you that, we just had that fixed. I steer all the way to one way and let go, it comes back. But we have an isolator switch, so I can turn that off and it won't come back. Flick that, and that steers the rears. Here's a dashboard, very simple. Power, fans, lights, start. So, a fuse box. And then there's the gear stick. So unlike Big Pete, this has an automatic gearbox that you manually select. But it also has a thing called a reverse lockout. So this is quite a tricky thing to learn. So you got to pull this lever and it'll go all the way back to 1. And then you click it up into second. It won't go back into first. So it's in second gear now. It'll go up into third. And it won't go into neutral. But it will drop back into second, but not first. It's a lot of things to remember. If you want to go back into first, pull the lever back into first. To go into neutral, pull the lever, it goes into neutral, but it won't go into reverse. So to go into reverse, you've got to push that and flick the reverse lockout, and then it will go into reverse, and then pull the lever, park. So when we're doing fast changes from first or second into reverse, there's obviously a lot of things you got to do with your hands. It's been a while since I've driven it, so you'd be going 1, 2, 3, into reverse, back into first, 1, 2, 3, into reverse, and then park. And that is how you drive a monster truck.